Hello, everyone. This is Claudiu Murgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspire Show. And my guest today is Howard Charing. Howard was born in London and has lived in the Netherlands, the USA, and Peru. He worked in the computer industry from 1970 to 1991. He quit the industry following an elevator crash in which he suffered serious injuries, a broken neck, and severe spinal damage. In this accident, he had a near-death experience that transformed his life. This accident closed the door to his normal prosaic life. However, new doors leading to exploration and adventure opened. Over the last 24 years, he has become acknowledged as an international workshop leader on shamanism, an author and visionary artist. For over 20 years, he has worked with some of the most respected and extraordinary shamans and elders in the Andes, the Amazon rainforest, and the Philippines. He has run training and developmental courses on behalf of the prestigious Foundation for Shamanic Studies in USA, and for many years worked with Eagle's Wings Center for Contemporary Shamanism, one of the foremost training organizations in Europe. He has also qualified as a pre-birth therapist with the Whole Self Institute. He has co-authored Plant Spirit Shamanism, published by Destiny Books, and the Ayahuasca Visions of Pablo Amaringo, published by Inner Traditions. His latest book, published in 2017 by Destiny Books, is The Accidental Shaman. So, Howard, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Claudiu. It's nice to meet you. Thank you.
So much experience gathered in the last 24 years. And nowadays you are living in Romania. Why? Is it related to shamanism and with what you are doing?
Well, I mean, there's a short story and there's a long story,
The short story, please.
The short story, we do the short story, yeah. I really like it here, and it's a beautiful country. I live up in Branshaw, surrounded by mountains and forests. I know some very, very nice people, and my work is well received here, so it's a very beautiful place to live, for sure.
I heard several months ago that someone got arrested in Romania, in Bucharest, I think, during the Ayahuasca ceremony. Is that true? How did that develop?
No, there's another long story here as well. Well, yes. Well, yeah, it was actually quite severe. It was done by the serious crime organization called DIDCOT. And I showed videos. It was like a SWAT team busted into this simple ceremony room. They took samples and videos of everything and so on. And the organizers have been arrested or are awaiting trial. And the shaman who they engaged, an English guy actually, he's also still in prison awaiting trial. And the sentence is very, very severe. But it's put in the context of a major crime, money laundering, drug smuggling ring, so it was just completely over the top, yeah.
Yes, that's unbelievable because it was proven that these plants have no secondary effects. They are known as healers. So there's a kind of international ban other than, South America and certain other countries. It's a ban on this type of medicinal plants. Why do you think is that?
Well, it's not about the medicinal plants. It's about Class A drug, DMT. And as the ayahuasca mixture contains DMT, that's why it's been banned. And the fact that we have DMT in the human brain is neither here nor there, because technically we're illegal as well on that basis. So the whole thing, if plants are illegal, well, this is something kind of we all experience everywhere in the world, and even though many of them have proven medicinal properties and capabilities and so on. So yeah, who is this? What is this by? It's about money. It's about the big pharma. It's about. I mean, Graham Hancock has written some very, very interesting articles about this and some very articulate discussions, which I think are available somewhere, and they may have been taken off, about basically the war on consciousness. I mean, you can see it as a kind of a global effort by the the ruling system, the system, shall we say, to keep people in a kind of a more material state of consciousness. But
Exactly.
it's yeah, but also again, if the plants are healing people and they work very well, which we know they do, um, there's not much money there for the pharmaceutical corporations and so on. So it's a very very big thing, and there's many angles to it. So I can't really say, oh, this is the reason why, you know.
Yes, you're right. And I recently interviewed Dennis McKenna, which is a ethnopharmacologist, and he's been going to the Amazon since the 1970s. And he told me that he can't stand that pharma corporations are putting a ban on plants. A plant is a plant. You cannot put a ban on it. And there's so much lobby against bringing these plants and healers forward. And in fact, he's
Yeah.
doing research on psilocybin at the Heffter Institute for people with coming from the war zone, which will help them a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, they've done a number of trials on veterans, military people who are suffering from PTSD from the very terrible circumstances that they're in, inhumane circumstances, and they find microdosing psilocybin has been very, very helpful. So there is. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom here. I mean, Dennis is right, and I know Dennis personally. I invited him to a conference in Romania here 4 years ago, the Sumeroon Awakenings conference, and Dennis was brilliant. He really knows his material. And yeah, and people like Dennis are kind of guiding, advising, consulting with various organizations who are trying to use psychedelic plants, or shall we say medicinal plants, for therapeutic situations. So it's happening slowly, so slowly. In the United States, okay, medicinal cannabis is legal. In Europe now, CBD is finally legal, so which is helps a lot of people with certain nervous situations. So yeah, it's not, as I said, all doom and gloom. There are glimmers of hope here and little stars of light here and there. So but it's going to take a long time.
Yes, unfortunately. And we have to travel many thousands of miles to get that type of experience because we cannot get it locally. That's the unfortunate part.
Well, that is it. I mean, when in a ceremonial thing. Actually, I'm not too kind of broken up about that actually, because it's really the best place to do it, where it comes from. Medicine comes from the people who have been working with this medicine for many years. It's in their culture, in their traditions, in their language, in the whole system. I think yeah, it has many benefits to going to the places where it comes from, for sure. And yeah. So, but the whole notion that plants are illegal, nature is illegal. Where'd you go with this?
Yes, yeah. I know there are historical records of shamanism in Mongolia. Also, the Druids were considered a type of shamans. Um, Based on your research, is there anything in between these two geographical locations, like the existing, like Western Europe and west side of like Romania and Hungary and Germany? Anything else based on your research?
Well, I'm not really au fait in what's actually been researched. I mean, I can't give you any really cogent, up-to-date information. So yeah. I just
Okay.
follow the guys. I follow the guys who are doing it, but I mean, I'm not actually involved in the research area.
Um, how do you think shamanism and the perception of shamanism have changed in the last 24 years since you got involved?
Well, I think a lot more people. I know there's a buzzword, cultural appropriation, and people when I started, people were taking traditions and ceremonies from the North American Indians and so on and so forth, Native Americans, and while they're very beautiful, they're not really of this land where we live, like in European countries, but more and more people are finding there are many local traditions from this country. Romania is a very good example. Romania is rich in old traditions, medicine plants and so on and so forth. So, and I think a lot of people here in Romania are actually very interested in are discovering their ancient roots. So it's led to kind of an awakening. But apart from all the cultural thing, there is kind of a unifying concept here, and that is that the planet is alive. You know, we are part of this planet. We're not separate to this planet, and how we live our lives and change our lives affects the totality. So there is a higher spiritual kind of a order happening here, as well as a connection to the earth. This is, I can talk about this a bit more actually, but I
Of
will,
course,
yeah.
please go ahead.
We have been disconnected as a society, as a culture from the earth. In shamanism, I'm speaking very crudely here. There's it's pretty much cross-cultural. There are three different zones: the upper world, the middle world, and the lower. Upper world is what we in the West call as the heavenly realms, celestial realms, and so on and so forth. The middle world is where the physical material world, where we kind of live on, plus its kind of energetic template of that. And the lower world is a place of nature, of nurturing, of the richness of the earth. And that has become demonized. And, we still have the three zones in our current lexicon, in our current society. The upper world is called heaven, the middle world is called earth, and the lower world is called hell, So we've just taken out the entire nurturing aspect of and communion with the earth. And that's had devastating results as how human society, culture, has treated the earth, for the past couple of thousand years. We treat it as a resource, as a thing that's lifeless and so on. We've lost a spiritual connection, communion with the living planet. But people individually and collectively, as we're seeing everywhere, are actually trying to make that reconnection. You can call it shamanism, you can call it animism, you can call it kind of just a spiritual outlook, but that is happening, and that's a very beautiful thing. It's taken time, it's taken slow, but it's the only way that it can happen, and that's from the bottom up. That's from individuals and so on. So yeah. Yeah, we are at actually kind of a junction point that we know that if we continue this way, there is going to be global devastation on many levels, on the climate, on the food, and so on. So we are going through, and the COVID-19 epidemic thing is part of it as well. It's a wake-up call. Wake up, get
Yes,
going
indeed.
now, and I assume that's what your show is about as well, helping people, showing people that now is the time really to wake up, listen to the message from the soul, from the higher order.
Yes, and in fact, the idea of the show came to me while integrating the teachings from one of the ceremonies, that I have to embrace God and Christ concept in a much deeper way, and show people how they can step back on their spiritual path. Because right now, pretty much, and I'm going to use a strong word, most of us are zombies. They just we're on cruise control, not think about anything else but what we're gonna do tomorrow, what type of food we're gonna buy. Do we have enough money to pay our bills? And we forget about who we are, about our spiritual side, which is much more important than anything else in our existence. And this is my opinion. So this is again the show all about bringing people who already stepped on their spiritual path. They have something to say, and have that type of wealth of experience to share with everyone else. And again, you are one of those
That's very good.
people.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
You spent in my introduction. We mentioned about the elders from the Amazon forest and the tribes, and how were you received there in order to become an apprentice? Were any trials or any special, diet? Can you share with us whatever you can share?
Well, I don't think I never was an apprentice, and I don't think I really have the constitution to become an apprentice, because to do the real thing takes a huge amount of time and dedication, and of which I think I certainly lack the time. For example, when you speak to these guys who've been doing this since they were children, and their fathers and their grandfathers and their grandmothers are doing this, the work of the plant, a particular plant. How do you master this plant? How do you incorporate this plant? Well, it's called a plant diet. So they go in a small cabin somewhere, devoid, no connection, nobody around, and they drink the plant, and they put the plant in kind of water, cook it up, and drink consume the plant in some way. And and the plant is a teacher. The plant is not something, oh, drink this plant and you'll have this and that and the other. It can be a very, very hard, not just physical, but also emotionally and spiritually. I'll give you many examples. But you're doing this for sometimes for 3 months to 6 months, and you're on your own. I mean, you'll get food delivered to your cabin, your tambo, but how many people can prepare to spend 6 months by themselves in the wilderness? Well, although the concept sounds very, very attractive, I wasn't really able to do that. And it's hard work. It's hard work. I've done a few plants, quite a few plants. And to give an example, the plant doesn't give you anything. The plant doesn't give you something. It shows you what's in you, what's lacking, or what's needed to be healed, and so on. And I remember a couple of years ago, a friend of mine said, "Hey, you've got to try this plant, Mariosa." Actually, it's called Mariosa, the local name. And it's like a Zen plant. You'll be so calm, you'll be so chilled, you'll be so relaxed. I thought, that sounds great. I love that. I'm in the jungle to be really chilled and Zen. So I drank the plant, and for 3 days I was climbing the wall. I was really angry, really pissed off. And the thing was, I realized the plant was showing me what's inside of me that prevents me from being Zen-like and totally calm and so on. So I was very, very grateful for that lesson. But these are the kind of things you do. The plant shows you what is needed. It doesn't say, "Oh, here you are, you're enlightened, you're healed," and so on. It's hard work. And these guys, these elders, these really, really good shamans, they go through this for many, many years. And they're not saying, you could say they're apprentices their entire lives, because they're still working and studying and new plants. It's not just, excuse me, my computer says I'm running on battery. Just be a second.
Yes.
I switched on the power plug. That helps. Okay, good. Okay, and so you can't say, "Oh, you do an apprentice X amount of years." It's a very Western concept, Western concept. They're working, they're studying all their lives, and some of these guys are in their 80s and so on, and they're still working with new plants and trying different kind of aspects of that as well. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. So it's about, as I mentioned, integration. In fact, we answer our questions ourselves while we are during the ceremony. It's not anyone else answering the questions, it's us, but we have a crystal clear approach to what that answer is. And this is in fact my approach, and then that thinking. You connect to the divinity, you have a channel, but at the same time it's you answering yourself those questions and cleaning yourself and cleansing whatever blockages you have from previous lives, karma, whatever. So it's a very, as you said, intense process. You have to have the courage to go through it, because there are no side effects and you're gonna be transformed, and that should be your end goal. Get through that transformation.
Yeah, for true. But look, I mean, it's easy to say transformation. It's easy to say, you do the work and so on. But sometimes when the plant, say ayahuasca, it's a very, very powerful plant, and when it brings up old wounds, old traumas that you completely consciously forgotten about, and you have to kind of, in some respects, relive them, so you can exorcise them, so you can purge them, so you can clean your body and so on. I mean, and a lot of people, I mean, hey, I'm part of this as well, in the Western world we live in, you have to have a kind of robust ego on this. I mean, in fact, even the introduction you brought up on the beginning, that's kind of an ego thing. I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. But when your ego is shattered, when your ego, who you think you are, who you've worked for, who you believe yourself to be, and you find that is not the case, that can take a bit of integration and a bit of support as well. So I'm not saying, I would never say ayahuasca is for everybody. I think you have to have some kind of spiritual perspective and inner life, a desire to explore, a desire to heal. It's not going to do it for you. You have to do the work, and that goes for all the plants.
Yes. Are you organizing trips to Peru or other countries in South America for,
No,
Ayahuasca or San Pedro ceremonies?
no, I haven't done. I did that for I think for 22 years actually, and I was doing that quite a bit. And I came to the point, I think, in about 3 years ago. It was like, okay, enough. You know, you've done enough. It's time to let go of this. Time to move on in a different direction, and so on. And yeah, yeah. I think everybody reaches the time, and I was very pleased. I was very pleased I made it for 22 years without any major disasters or mishaps. Okay, so I was pleased about that as well. But yeah, I thought that was the time. So I've kind of taken a serious break from that. I mean, I'm not saying I'll exclude it from the future, but certainly for the time being, it's a big responsibility. You have to take a lot of people, and I mean, their physical welfare and their spiritual and emotional circumstances. You've really got to take care of that. You need to have a team to do this and so on. So never mind all the travel arrangements, the hotels and the flights and all these other kind of logistical arrangements. So no, I just wanted a break, and I'm just very pleased. I learned a lot, and a lot of people received a lot from that work. But it's time for something different. Yeah.
Yeah, I was supposed to start my journey to Peru this year in May, but in June, sorry, but it didn't happen because of the pandemic. So it was postponed for next year, sorry.
Next year, yeah, everything's shut down in Peru. We've got friends out there. I'm going to chat to them, and then they're showing me videos of places like Cusco, which are normally thriving, bustling with hundreds of thousands of tourists. During this time of the year, it's empty. I've never seen anything like this before. It's like a ghost town, and so I think you can possibly postpone your trip for probably the back end of next year. It won't even be kind of clear early next year either. So
yes, yeah.
That's the way things are. Yeah.
Yes. What can you tell us about your work with the Eagle's Wing Center for Contemporary Shamanism and with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies?
Yeah, well, the Foundation of Shamanic Studies was back in the 90s, and I attended some workshops in the USA with Michael Harner and his organization. And I got a lot from that. I have to say, I got a lot from that, and it really opened me up. And I got on very well with Michael Harner as well. We got on very, very well. And he's passed away a few years ago. But he was a very warm-hearted man, a very, very lovely man. And so he invited me to assist him in a workshop in San Francisco or something. That's right, yeah. And after that, he wanted to open up a kind of an office, not an office, shall we say, but kind of do something in Holland. So he asked me to do some workshops in Holland. But it didn't last very, very long because they decided to merge the Dutch thing with the German thing. And I thought, okay, guys, move on. So that was my Foundation of Shamanic Studies. But I have a huge amount of respect for Michael Harner, without a doubt, without a question. And he has been. I would say Michael Harner and Carlos Castaneda have been two of the kind of the beacons for the kind of the awakening of contemporary shamanism or shamanism in the Western world. So it's Harner and Castaneda, and certainly Castaneda's first few books, and they were like a bombshell. They really were, opened up the door for many, many people to think, what is going on here? So and Michael Harner made it very, very practical, very, very pragmatically doable. So that's the gift of these two guys. I work with Eagle's Wing. Yes, I've worked in the UK for quite some years now, from maybe 18, 19 years with Leo Rutherford, and that was really, really good. Leo's is very focuses on the medicine wheel. He was trained with that. He worked in the USA, lived with the tribe of elders, and he brought back some beautiful gifts and so on. And the beautiful thing was that we kind of complemented each other. My work is kind of a little bit different from his work, and it was a very, very nice team. But in 2008, I left the UK and I went nomad for a couple of years, and and I lived in Peru, and that's when I did the book with Pablo Amaringo, the Ayahuasca Visions. Even though I've known Pablo for since the late '90s and so on, but I was there. We did the thing together. It was very, very beautiful, and then I, still nomadic, and until I came to Romania, 2012,
Wow.
and I really like it here. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
it,
beautiful
it,
country.
yeah. I won't ask you how long you've been in the States and so on, but maybe another time. Yeah, so it's been closing chapters and opening new chapters, and I've done something for some years, and the energy moves on a different direction. So it just works very nicely. It's just very smooth, this kind of thing.
Have you personally met Castaneda?
No, I haven't met Castaneda. The closest I came to meeting Castaneda was, well, yeah, I met people who knew him. I met Mike Gleason. Mike Gleason was the senior lecturer at Berkeley, in the same anthropology department, and he told me so many stories. I met him in Peru, about 15, 16 years ago, and I wish I had a tape recorder with me because it was full of gems and beautiful things. And yeah, and he verifies some of the stories that Castaneda writes about. And same with Michael and Sandra Hana. They were friends with, because they're in this anthropology education. And they were telling me a story. They met Carlos when in his motel in Arizona or Texas, when he was just a whole room full of eggs. He was learning how to cook eggs, to do a short order egg cook, egg chef, what do we call him, a cook egg chef. And that was a time in the book, I think the third book, yeah, when Don Juan told Carlos to get a new identity, completely change his life, get a new identity. So he ended up working in a fast food restaurant cooking eggs. And so Michael and Sandra kind of came into him when he's actually practicing cooking eggs, omelets, and whatever, and souffles and whatever he was doing. So yeah, so some of the stories, I know that, are very much true because people have intersected with Carlos at the time. But everything is, of course, the later books. Then there's a different story. The first few books, I think, were beautiful, were brilliant, and the later books. I'm speaking personally for myself, obviously here. They just went off into a totally different cosmic universe.
What do you think about the art of dreaming? That book scared me, to be honest with you. Is that?
Me too. Me too. And I thought, I won't say what I thought on the radio here, but I thought, what is going on here? This I did meet a few dubious characters who claimed they knew him, and I'm saying the word dubious. I'm being polite here, obviously. But no, the art of dreaming, I think it freaked out a lot of people. That was it really. And I think, and after reading that, actually, kind of, I thought how you got so much from his first few books. Move on, let it go.
Yeah, he stretched our imagination a lot, and someone with a weakened heart can give up shamanism or any type of practice for good because it's quite powerful, quite scary. So it gave me a lot of thought about is this real or how much he can push the boundaries. And yeah, very, very interesting book.
Yeah.
But tell us about your books, the other ones.
Which ones? Okay, the first one I did with Ross Heaven. Ross Heaven's a prolific author, and he's passed away a few years ago. 2 years ago, actually, 2.5 years ago. And we wrote a book on plants and plants and shamanism and so on, San Pedro and ayahuasca and plant diets. And it was a very good book of its time. It was published in 2006 because there weren't many books around published at that time about this kind of plant shaman practice. So it was a very, very good book, and it's still out there. So I'm very pleased that has a good life and so on. But I think the special book was the Ayahuasca Visions of Pablo Amaringo. And you're talking about visions and so on. I was in an ayahuasca ceremony back in 2007 or something, 2007, 2008, something like that. And the whole visionary experience was of Pablo Amaringo's work, his art, that Pablo. And when that kind of visionary experience kind of came to its conclusion, is the word said, the ayahuasca said, Howard, write a book, do a book on Pablo on his latest paintings. I thought, whoa, you know, I mean, I love Pablo, I loved his work. Pablo was an amazing person, a very beautiful person, a very wonderful man. And just being with him, you felt good. I mean, there's no question about that. And so I thought, okay, so I slept on it, you know, and I spent the whole day in it on my hammock, and you know, not thinking about it too much. I thought, yes, let's do it. So I spoke to my kind of my
Publisher.
not publishing, no, the guy I work with on the retreats, Peter Clousley, you know,
Mhm.
Peter Clousley. And Peter, you know, is very connected to everybody. I said, Peter, I had this vision. What do you think? And he went, yeah, let's do it. So after we finished our retreat, we flew down to Pacapa. We met up with Pablo, and I told Pablo the idea, and his whole face lit up. Wow, you know, like a. I'm speaking figuratively here. Obviously, it was like a bright light went on, you know, and and that's when we did it. So we gathered, made the time, and we went through the paintings. We chose the paintings that we're going to work with. We videoed every conversation, recorded every conversation, so we'd have material to write and work upon. Um, and yeah, and that was a beautiful book. And the sad thing was, and Pablo knew, because he got ill in 2009, early 2009. He had dengue, you know, and it really hit him hard. Dengue fever, and
Mhm.
they get a lot out there because of the kind of the sanitary circumstances and the climate and so on. And he knew that he wouldn't be alive. He wouldn't be here to see this book published. He knew that. And that's why the book was very, very special to him. And for me, it was like I was transcribing the Gospels or something. It's like holy book, you know.
Mhm.
And it's resulted in a very gorgeous book. It's a big hardback. Um, when people say, "Can you bring a few over, Hal?" I say, "Forget it. It's 1.8 kilos. I'm not going to carry any of those things around." And it's a beautiful book, and Introductions did a wonderful job, on the printing, on the whole. It's a very beautiful art book, and Pablo's spiritual message, his ecological message, his message to live a life as a good human, is evident in all those paintings. So they're rich in mythology, the Amazonian stories, and so on. So it was a really special, beautiful occasion to work with. So it was, yeah, as I said, I was transcribing the Gospels. It was like, this is so holy, this is like sacred stuff here, you know. And that came out in 2011, and very, very. Have you seen a copy of it?
Watched I saw the cover, which is beautiful. I didn't have the chance to buy the book or go through it, but I will.
Oh, so, yeah,
I'm buying so many books these days because I have to do research on the people I interview, on my guests.
yeah,
So I have to read about them. It's not only
yeah,
just the internet research, but I really want to read and
yeah,
understand their point of view. So I'm
yeah,
gathering up a lot of books.
I appreciate that, but it's just a beautiful book to have around. Just look at the
Yes,
pictures and stories around them. And I'm not saying this as a promotion, obviously. I'm
I
just saying
understand.
this,
Yeah.
just sharing information here. And and the other book, Accidental Shaman. And yeah, I was in the shower. I was going to write a book. I was going to write a book. Okay, I got loads of material, loads of stories, loads of stuff. Write a book. I'm in the shower, and I was going to call the book Shamanic Healing Method or something. You know, something really kind of neutral and passive and whatever, you know. And then having the shower, and the voice spoke out. This voice speaks out. Okay, I said, Howard, change the title of the book to The Accidental Shaman. Oh, wow, what a great title, you know. And I got out of the shower and things. I sat down and thought about it. Hold on. It means enough to change the entire book. Change it from a third party instruction manual book, you know, how to do this, to a very personal story, you know. And so I really felt I had to do it. You know, I was got the kick to do it. And so it's very personal. I mean, I put my screw ups, my mess ups in that book. I mean, the funny, stupid situations I find myself in. You know, so it has kind of a sense of humor, right? Because I mean, obviously, I think a sense of humor sometimes is all that gets me through. Sometimes some situations, but I think it's a nice book, and it's been well received. People really have it's inspired them because it's got a personal touch. It's not a dry third party how to do this. It's someone doing something, making a mess up, and then discovering something, and all these other things. So it's a very personal story, and I have to be honest, I was a bit anxious and had a bit of anxiety about doing it, but I did it. I grit my teeth and I did it. And it's been published in Romania as well. There's a Romanian edition as well, you know,
Oh, nice.
which of that book. So I'm working on a new one now. I mean, I was going to do it's on Pablo Amaringo. Wasn't it? Pablo had a. It's okay to talk about this. I mean,
Yeah, please go ahead. Yes.
Okay. This is promotion. Okay, so unabashed promotion. Um, and Pablo's paintings are filled with celestial beings, angels, cosmic entities, divas, nature spirits, and all these kind of natural forces, and they're very, very beautiful. And I came across some years ago a treasure trove of his sketches, of designs for these angelic beings, and after he died, you know, I was speaking with his son, you know, who runs the estate, Pablo's estate, and I said I can do a nice. This would make a beautiful colouring book. People can get hands-on with Pablo's work. We can use these designs, and they loved the idea, and he agreed to the idea. But the adult colouring book thing never took off because I think I missed the boat with that adult colouring book. But people were saying this will make beautiful oracle divination cards because each angel has a beautiful narrative, a beautiful story, a beautiful concept. So that's what I'm doing now. So I'm putting together a proposal, and I've had a few interested people say, well, let me see what you got, you know. But I'm very positive about this, and it's a very, very beautiful thing. You know, it's complex. You have to have digital art and colorization and so on. But I connected to some good people who can help me in that field. So,
And
okay.
so tell us a little bit more about your art. I can see it behind you on the wall.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I've got more paintings along here. I mean, I think my favorite paintings on the other side actually. But yeah, I'm well, yeah. Well, art, yeah. I mean, I paint for myself. I mean, you know, people buy stuff and they buy prints and reproductions, and that's very groovy. But I just paint for me because this is how I meditate. You know, I just meditate. I've got a blank canvas. I think I'll do a color, and I sit with the canvas, and you can't think of anything because if you think of something, then nothing happens. So you just got to be empty. You got to be still, and allow the colors and the shapes and the forms to come through. And primarily, what I'm doing is I'm painting my visions. I'm painting these incredible geometric fills of color and shapes. You know, this geometry of the plants, of the spirit of the plants, and of course, when you're having the experience, it's not a still experience. It's a dynamic, it's shifting and changing and moving and so on. So I'm just capturing a moment, a second in time of each one. So you could say that all one painting, but all different aspects of one painting. I could move the camera around a little bit, I suppose. Shall I do that?
Please.
Okay.
Have you organized any exhibitions in Romania so far?
Yeah, I had an exhibition. Yeah, back here. I had an exhibition 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago in Bucharest. Yeah, at the beautiful Carousel. You've been there?
Yes. Yeah.
It's one of the beautiful bookshops in Europe. It's
Yes.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to turn the camera around here a little bit.
Wow. Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah. And I've got some around here as well, but over there, up there, and that's it really. Yeah, I'm growing bananas, by the way.
Can you do that indoors?
It's happening. It's happening. I'm growing bananas up in the mountains in Romania, and I can bring the camera around if you want me to, but I can't move the tree. It's a huge thing. But I was so surprised when that happened. I thought, well, if I can grow bananas, if I can create this kind of micro
Climate,
nano climate up in the mountains, you know, outside the tropics, then I can grow anything. But I haven't done yet. Okay. but it's beautiful, and I couldn't believe it when they first the big huge purple flower came out, and there's a lot of little proto bananas, and they all start off yellow, then they turn black, then they become banana shape, and now some of the bananas are turning yellow. So maybe I can eat one.
Fingers
Meaning,
crossed, yes.
fingers
Um,
crossed. Yeah,
I think you heard of Hank Wasselman,
yeah,
which is one of the top guys in shamanism and comes to anthropology and also writing. He wrote his trilogy, The Vision Seeker, The Medicine Man, and I can't remember the third one. Where he traveled many years ahead of him and saw how the world will be at that time, 4 to 5 thousand years in the future. Have you had these type of experiences, traveling back and forth? I mean, in the past, in the future. And we know it's all the same, but did you have this type of experiences?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the benefits of this kind of altered consciousness work is you realize that time is not linear, sequential. It's a single continuum, and with intention and with skill and practice, you can go anywhere, you know. And I'm not saying you can change things, and although I would think that is possible to change something, but then you can't change anything, you know, because the consequences cannot be computed by changing something. So I think as an observer, for sure, yeah. And well, for example, when I got back from Peru in March this year, you know, I just got out the day before the shutdown. I get to Madrid. That was shut down really here in Romania, so I flew to London. I flew from London to, you know. So um, I wanted to be home. I didn't want to be stuck somewhere during a pandemic, you know. And when I got home, I thought, well, how long is this going to last for, you know? And so I did my journey to see what was going on with this situation. And it's very clear. It was 18 months before things would start to settle down. So you're looking. I mean, and I've based it, and it seems to be coming true. I think until next June, July, we're still going to go through this restrictions and controls and quarantines and all these other things. So we still got quite another few months to go still on this thing. And it's good to talk about this actually. I think this is really, really appropriate. It's not just about how the future will unfold, because I have a really positive feeling about the future, you know, and that's come from doing this work, you know. We're going through a really big sorting out, a really big cleansing, you know. And when you cleanse, when you heal, and if it's a deep healing, it's going to be very messy. It's going to be very, very raw. And this is what we're going through now. And we're seeing this huge polarization with people right now, massive polarization. And it's clear that the people who have some kind of inner life, some kind of spiritual, philosophical, psychological perspective, they're doing okay from this, because they're seeing within themselves that the world around us is a very powerful mirror to what's unresolved within us. And I'm working with so many people, and so much pain and distress, and as well as epigenetic, you know, kind of memories from previous generations of
Yeah.
famine, pestilence, poverty, all coming up. They're coming up for healing. And when the person heals at such a kind of an ancestral shall we say, code, you know, they cleared it not just for now, for the past, but it's cleared for the future. So a lot of people are actively involved in healing and cleansing work. And that's very, very beautiful. It's not easy. I mean, it's hard work as always, deep healing. But the people, I wouldn't call them zombies. I mean, I wouldn't do that, because I'm sure they're nice people and all that. But they may not have an inner life. They may be much more focused on the material aspects of life, the
Correct.
nice
Yeah.
car, the clothes, and the latest gadgets and so on. They're the ones who are going to have the difficulty, because they've no way of incorporating the shifting transformative energies, the releasing energies that are happening. So I think as much help and much advice as possible, you know, to show people that, you know, we've got to step back from this material consciousness that the earth is just a resource to be plundered. You know, we've got to live back in harmony. Some people will get it, some people won't get it, and that's how things are. But the ones who don't get it, who are unable to change for whatever reason, you know, and so on, they're going to have the difficult times, you know. So it's a kind of a sorting out, you know, who's going to benefit from this and who's going to really, I say not benefit, but who's going to not get the message, not get the lesson. because this is a very special time right now.
Are you talking also about the different type of vibration from 3D to 5D or 4D, as other seers and channelers are talking about, or is it a different type of approach?
Well, I'm not going to give it those labels, I'm not going to give those labels, but certainly it's a shift into higher consciousness. And as you move into a higher order consciousness, you have to let go of the debris, of the weight, of the burdens, of the old practices, of the old way of thinking. So yeah, for sure, it's a higher vibration, and to get to the higher vibration, you have to let go and release and forgiveness.
Yes.
It's a big one. Forgiveness is a big one. I mean, it's coming up in my life right now. People I'm working with, they've got to think the only way to move on is to forgive, and forgiveness changed my life. After my accident in the elevator, I was really, really angry with the people, the engineers who didn't follow the safety protocols while they were doing maintenance on the elevator and caused the crash. And I really resented it. I was really in a bad way for a few years, and I was seeing this guy, kind of a massage therapist with a very spiritual aspect to it. And one day, he said to me in a very strange voice, he said to me, "Howard, do you want to get well again?" And it wasn't, I just couldn't say yes, because I had been used to being unwell, unable to move, wearing things around my, keep my head up and so on. And so I really had to think about it. Do I want to get well again? And I realized, yes, I want to get well again. Then he said, I said that. Then he said to me, well, you have to forgive. You have to forgive the people you blame for the accident. So, of course, I can hold a grudge. I mean, I don't want to hold a grudge, but just for the fun of it. But I really had to forgive. So I really had to grit my teeth and get all my power. And I forgave these people who I was very angry and blamed for the accident. Because one minute I was really super fit and sporty, and the next minute I couldn't even stand up. I was supporting the weight of my head on my shoulders. And the moment of forgiveness was a weight of 10,000 tons lifted from me. It was like, wow. And it was not just a weight, it was just like a transcendent experience. I was seeing colors and shapes around me, and I was like, it was a very, very beautiful experience. And I can say categorically, my journey, my healing began the moment of forgiveness, And and it's a very hard thing to do. It's like you've been hurt by somebody treated you badly. It's hard to forgive, but you have to forgive, and people will become much more aware of the importance. It's not about the other person; it's about you, what you're holding on to, what's keeping you in that kind of a lower vibration, shall we say? So, yes, we're going through a messy, chaotic time. All sorts of silly things are coming up here right now in the world, but yeah, it's a great opportunity. It's a beautiful opportunity for release and for healing. So I'm not going to call it 4D, 5D, 3D stuff. It's just,
because that triggers a chain reaction. When you forgive, other people will forgive. They will feel the fact that a burden was released from their shoulders as well. So again, that chain reaction takes place, and everyone gets better.
There's a sport. I don't think you have it in Romania, but it's called a tug of war. When two teams have got a rope,
Yes.
You know that sport, yeah. And it's like a tug of war. When you're in this kind of dynamic, you're in this tug of war. When you forgive, you let go of the rope. You let go, and the tension is gone. The whole dynamic has changed, and it's incredible. People said to me, I forgave my mother. I haven't spoken to her for 20 years. And the following day, she phoned me up and asked me how I was and all this kind of thing. I mean, there's so many stories like that. The other person knows. They pick it up, Very, very special. I mean, there is something divine about forgiveness, and we humans can do this. And people, we're talking on the show right now, if there's somebody that really held a resentment against or angry against or feel hurt by that person, they should consider about the benefit of forgiving that person for themselves, for their own personal, for their life, for their evolution, and so on.
What project or what are you doing right now? Are you running any programs in Romania, or anything is international, virtual right now because of the lockdown? What are your next steps?
Well, actually, it's quite amazing. I've been working for many years with individual one-to-one sessions on Skype, with people from, international, from different countries and time zones. And it's always worked very, very well. And I work in Romania once every month. I'll spend a week in Bucharest or a week in Cluj or somewhere, and see clients and so on. And that's been really nice, meeting people and so on. But and I do quite a few workshops as well, some very nice residential workshops and some introductory workshops. But how has this happened? All my work has been kind of converted to going online, and I'm doing online seminars, online workshops, and so on. And I thought, well, it's not going to work because when I do a workshop with people, I make a connection with people, not just on body language and facial expressions and what they say, but you have a connection. You can see where they are, and you know what to say. And I thought, will this work online? So I didn't know, and so I tried it, and to my utter surprise, it works super well. As long as I have to meet everybody. I just spend a few moments with everybody saying, can you just say your name, say hello, so hello, just so I meet somebody, and once that connection's there, everybody felt my connection, everybody felt my presence, and I felt their presence, and it was just like having people in a live workshop, except you can't see everybody at once. You only see like a screen full of people. And it works very well. And I've got so much beautiful feedback and very encouraging, and very gratifying to see that during these times, people have really appreciated this kind of place they can come and explore what's going on with them, and take a good look at the reflection that's being presented to them and how to heal it. So. Yeah, I'm working online. Yeah.
So people can contact you directly through your website, or they go somewhere else. The website is the main point of contact.
No, the website. Yeah, the website is shamanism.co.uk, and there's a contact form there as well, so people can email me there. There's absolutely no problem, and we can talk on Skype and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been great, and until. Next time, I hope to hear more about other books and other projects. Thank you very much.
Claudiu, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
And for my viewers, thank you for listening. Please share, subscribe, and go to my Patreon account where I offer exclusive content. Until next time, love and gratitude.